everybody, and welcome to the Ocean Show podcast. Today, I am here with the one and only, the man who birthed me half of his genes, my father. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Today, we're going to be just kind of getting to know him a bit more, and learning about his passion in filmmaking. And, just learning where it all started and stuff. But before we get started, do you want to, give an intro to who you are, what you do?
Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian Soto. I am a motion graphics designer. I work with multimedia design, shooting commercials, and I've always had a passion of working with video and filmmaking and a variety of different art. So I always get my hands into all kinds of creative stuff. It's just fun for me, and that's what I've been doing all my life since I was a kid.
Nice. So speaking of when you were a kid, when did this passion really kick off?
One day, my dad came home with a video camera. It was a VHS camcorder, but unlike the cameras that we have today, back then you used to have to take apart a VHS player. It was a very big machine. And half of it would come out and you put it into a bag, and that would record from a small camera with a big cable. So I would lug around this 20-pound device on my back with a small little camera, and I was getting, at first it was just fun projects and doing creative things, and then all of a sudden I was filming weddings. And it was all in-camera editing, so there wasn't any Adobe editing. There wasn't any kind of Final Cut or anything like that. It was just I would take a video, then I'd stop and run to the other side, take video, stop, run back, zoom in, take video, and basically all the editing was done in camera. And then by the end of the wedding, I would come up with their VHS tape and say, hey, $80, please. So I get $80, and they get their video of their wedding day. And I was 13, 14 years old, I guess.
You were recording weddings when you were 13, 14?
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What do you mean by in-camera editing? Comparative to what we have today, where you have like not Photoshop, but like Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects, stuff like that, where you can do all the cuts inside. How would you do the cuts within the camera?
Well, nowadays you have multiple cameras at a wedding event. So if you're shooting a wedding, you'll have at least 2 cameras, and it would be better if you have multiple. So you would have one camera pointing in as a close-up to the bride and groom, and then you have another one that's a wide angle, and you have one that's taking shots of the family, and people are crying, and whatever it is, and then you bring it all together into your computer, and then you edit it. So you would pick the scenes that you want and layer them, and then cut them into a section until you have a story that you're telling about the event. But back then, I didn't have access to anything, and there really wasn't a whole lot of editing software, and anything that there was available was way too expensive and not available for somebody who's getting started. So basically, I would run from one end of the building to another and take a shot of the parents, and then I'd run back and shoot the groom and the bride, and it would just run around. And so I would play, record, pause, and then run to another section, hit record, pause, and go to another section. So that way, everything was already, when you play it, it's just cutting from this scene to this scene to this scene, just from stopping and recording on the camera. So that was your in-camera editing. I mean, there's a lot of tricks you can do with in-camera shooting right nowadays instead of using a computer system. But back then, that's all we had available, and people were happy to have it because there wasn't anything else.
That's pretty wild to think of, because I was initially I was thinking that it's like, since it's all like recorded in like VHS tapes and stuff, that you were going in and cutting the film and then reattaching it, doing something crazy like that.
No, that's real film editing. And funny was I was shooting an 8mm film, and we were digitizing the film footage. So we would shoot and film in college, and but we wouldn't cut the film. It wasn't, we weren't splicing anything. We would just capture it onto a computer system. And in college, we were using Media 100. Final Cut was just being available, and Avid was another software that's used by Hollywood, and that was being accessible, but it was so new, and it was difficult to use. So like Media 100 is more like Adobe. It has more of the familiar editing cuts and layering. So that's what we would do, even though we were shooting in film, which looks really cool. I mean, everything in film is so that cinematic look and feel. That's something that you search for, even with video today, even with your cell phones. You want to have that focus length, and you have that range that you want to make it look more cinematic. So it all breaks down to film, and that's the things that we used to do and work with.
So speaking of trying to get that cinematic feel, what are like some like pro tips of like trying to get that feel? Because I see a lot of videos on YouTube and stuff like that, and people will try to do like skits or something like that, make it feel cinematic, but it doesn't look it. It's got like that like digital camera look.
Sure.
Is it just like the frames, or what is it?
It's basically your focal length. It's your focus. You want to have some of the content out of focus. So basically, when you are shooting with, let's say it was your phone's the likelihood is going to try to focus on everything. So you don't have much depth of field. And what happens is when you look at a film, they're using very, very expensive lenses that pick up a lot of light and makes it really dreamy. I mean, there's so many things you can do with different types of lenses, but when you focus, let's say, on something that's in front of you that's 5 feet, everything behind it will be blown out, blurry. And that gives that depth of field, and it creates more of a cinematic look. And you also want to have good lighting. I mean, lighting is very important. If you don't have enough lighting, everything is dark and washed out, or dark and grainy. But if you have too much light, everything gets washed out. So you want to be able to create depth by having your subject well lit, and the background will either be darker, so that way the person is in focus. Your eyes will gradually look towards whatever is brighter, or whatever is in focus. So if you want to do if you have a person in the front and a person in the back, and you want to change perspectives, and you want to have you want to change the focus of the attention to the person in the back, then you blur out the front and put the person in the back in focus, or lighten up the person in the back, and that creates a story. I mean, you can really manipulate your story by focus, by lighting, and by how you manipulate your film. So that adds that's a big deal when it comes to giving that cinematic look. I mean, there's a lot of color and LUTs and things that you can do, but that is a simple way to make it a little bit more cinematic.
See, I had a few ideas for doing YouTube videos, or like some like small shorts and stuff like that. So that was one of the things I was looking at, was like trying to get that cinematic look. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure it out. And I was learning about color correction. I was like, there's probably something simple.
It's never simple.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I didn't expect it to be as complicated as it is. It's like I saw like someone tried breaking it down. He was like, I'm going to break it down as easy as possible, and it's like a hour-long video. It's like, man,
right.
Is it like it's like a dedicated like position in like filmmaking, isn't it? Like people.
Oh yeah, there's I really like the idea of being a one-man crew and being able to do everything from beginning to end, but it's really not easy. You really need help if you're going to produce something and that you want it to look a specific way, and getting your hands into every aspect of it is important. So if you know how to frame a shot, you know how to use the camera. Everybody wants to use a camera. Everybody wants to direct, and that's great. But you also need to know how to light somebody. You also need to know about sound. Sound is so important because you can have the most beautiful footage, but if your sound is echoey or faint, or you just can't hear the person, or there's a lot of background noise or static noise, it just makes your production hokey. So a lot of people don't realize that, oh yeah, I got this red camera, or I got this expensive 4K, 8K. It doesn't matter if you don't have sound. It doesn't matter if you don't have lighting, because it really makes it more of a challenge to make it look good. And if you want to have something that looks professional, you just have to have as simple as a good mic, even if it's a lapel mic, something that goes on your shirt, and it can be recorded with your iPhone. You'd be surprised how well just your headphones that you use to listen to music, you put that on and record sound, and it'll improve your production by a lot. So sound is important. Lighting, you could have one light with a reflector. 3-point lighting is important to make it separate your person from the front to the back, so that gives that cinematic look. It makes the background darker, and you light it up with a little bit of color or just a little bit of blur. I mean, you could do that in post. There's a variety of things you can do to make something look good, and it doesn't take a lot of money, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. Once you get it down and you figure out how to do it, doing that little 1-hour tutorial on YouTube, it won't take you 1 hour to start setting up every time you have to do a shoot. So it works, it helps, and just the basics, you'd be surprised how much you can get away with.
I kind of want to see you make a little YouTube video now, just based around why sound's important. Just having one scene, making this beautiful looking scene with some dialogue or something, and then just having the contrast between using the in-camera mic and then using an actual mic. And it feels like it would just be really funny, because you got
Sure.
wind hitting it and everything. So it's just you get some muffled talks, and it's just a lot of
Right. No, sure. No, and you'd be surprised. That's something maybe we can work on together and get something to see, so that people can listen and hear and see the difference of placement. And I mean, if you look at the behind the scenes of a lot of content, you'll see that the microphones, they'll put them really, really close. And somebody's, a grip's holding a shotgun mic, and they have it right above their head where the camera is not in scene, or right below where they're not is not visible. And the purpose is just to get that sound, and that is so important. But if you're doing a little production, I mean, I currently work at an advertising firm, and I work on commercials pretty much every day. So a lot of the time we have in studio, we have a big green screen studio with lighting and a professional crew that comes in and lights, and we shoot a lot of content with spokespersons and stuff. But a lot of the background content are either photos or there's video footage. But I've gotten a ton of footage that I've shot with my cell phone. So I'll grab my iPhone and I'll set up in a steady shot, and I'll record street footage, or I'll record an accident scene, or I'll record just content that I need to put in the background and clean up after a green screen. And those are nationwide. I have a lot of content that I shot with just my cell phone, and they're being used in commercials right now. So it's important to have good equipment, but if you're creative and if you are motivated, don't let equipment hold you back, because you have the equipment in your hand. You have a great audio recorder in your phone. You have a great camera in your phone, and some amazing films have been shot on iPhones, and you'd be surprised that what you can do with it. And it's so powerful, and a lot of editing software is free. And just like we're recording now, we're recording on a free audio Audacity software. And I mean, it just use what you got, you use the tools that you have, and you'd be surprised what you can create.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of the, recording on iPhones and stuff, that reminds me of, there's this one movie called Ingrid Goes West, I believe. It's on Hulu. And the entire movie, I believe that's the movie that was shot entirely on an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks amazing. Like it's like got like Aubrey Plaza in it and like a few other like big name actors.
Sure.
And it's like a great like little movie about like social media and stuff. And it was like well done. The lighting looks amazing, and it's just crazy that you can get that just from, you know, your phone.
Right. I mean, stabilizers are very affordable. I mean, I remember wanting a camera stabilizer, and it was thousands of dollars. But now your cell phone can shoot in 4K, and you get a little $100 stabilizer, and you have a fantastic way to film. And you add there's a little adapter you can buy on Amazon that attaches to a paint stick, and you go buy a big old paint stick from the hardware store that's goes up 20 feet or more, and you attach that to the stabilizer in your phone and launch that up in the air, and it's just like you have a drone. So you can get some aerial shots. If you're in an event that doesn't allow drones, you can bring a paint stick and launch that up. I've actually shot a fashion show where I had my main camera on the runway in the front, and then I put a very large light stand straight up in the air with a GoPro, and I had that connected to my cell phone, where I would just hit record, and I was getting an aerial shot of the fashion show while I was filming with a couple other cameras. Again, being a one-man show, sometimes you have to be creative, so you set up a stabilized camera wide, you get one that's tall, and then you get a third one that you're running around getting your close-ups, and then you edit it all together, and you can create something pretty good that you can sell or produce and put out there.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know about that, because I know, you know, ever since I was a little kid, you've always had like your DIY different movie stuffs. Like you had the what was it, like the dolly that you would run on PVC pipes?
Right.
You like drilled a bunch of like skateboard wheels to it and everything.
Yeah, when I was going to college, we were able to rent out a dolly, but the list was so long, everybody had their name on it to rent it. So instead of waiting, I went online and I found some plans for a skateboard dolly. And I mean, this was a long time ago when the internet was kind of just getting going, I guess. But I made my own skateboard dolly, and I made my own crane. And to this day, I still have those skateboard dolly wheels that I put on a large tripod that I connect that same crane, which it's been a workhorse. I still use it today, and it's a DIY project, and it's easy to move around, and you make things that work for you, because sometimes cheap and easy is better than complex. I mean, I don't have to worry about it. I don't worry if it breaks, and the thing's so solid it doesn't break.
It's just like a solid hunk of wood, isn't it?
It used to be, yeah. It used to be a big plywood. It was heavy, but I could ride it. I had two people on it at a time. One was filming, one was focusing. I mean, I've used that.
You had like two people pushing it, as well.
Right. I had one person pulling on it with a handle, but that was really, I mean, that changed the game. You had smooth, stable footage. You were dollying. You were following people. You were creating a cinematic look and feel, and it was something simple of roller skate wheels on PVC pipe on a piece of wood, and that made my productions sought after. I had people wanting music videos. They would see my content, and they would want to hire me to produce those things, because it was just, it doesn't matter what you have, is what you use. Sometimes you have to be creative and use what you got, and you'd be surprised what you can get away with. And that was one of those things.
That's crazy. That's awesome. That's like one of the things that I've always thought was really cool, is like how creative you've gotten with like making your own tools to make like your ideal like footage and stuff like that, capturing your ideal footage.
Sure.
But moving on. So earlier you were talking about like little projects that you did. What were some projects that you did when you were young, like when you were first getting into it, if you can remember any?
Oh, it was all family fun stuff. I mean, I was doing special cuts to make people disappear, and I was starting to learn. The software at the time was Adobe, and After Effects started coming into play. But Photoshop was the big thing. That was the first thing that I was picking up, and I was learning how to create a lightsaber. And it was taking one image at a time and painting in a lightsaber one frame at a time. And it was just taking forever to do. But I mean, the few seconds, it just looked really cool to have create a lightsaber that you saw in the movies. It was just fantastic. Nowadays, it's like you can
just green screen it, like After Effects. You can just like if you have like a rod that's green, you can just.
Oh yeah, nowadays, I mean it's much easier. There's software that makes it even faster. To do, but back in the day, it was one frame at a time, and it was all hand drawn, and that was the things that we were learning to do.
And for people that don't know, it's about 24 frames a second. So if you're doing like 3 seconds, that's what, like 72 frames of just hand painting these like little lines for lightsabers. So
right.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it gets very time consuming. I mean, that's just a couple of seconds. So it really makes a difference when you're talking about a minute or 5 minutes. I mean, 5 minutes of footage of a lightsaber fight, forget it. It just takes you a week or more.
I mean, that's how they did it in like the original Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
They like went through all of it. And that's why you don't see like too many like lightsabers going on, because it's just such a time consuming thing.
Right. I mean, they had their own little. They were using tape that was reflective to create the lightsaber. I mean, a lot of fantastic techniques. I mean, if you look at any old behind the scene footage, ideally you can learn a lot in your own production with miniatures, with in camera effects. I love all that stuff, and anybody that's a filmmaker usually just eats that up. I still do. I love seeing that stuff.
Nice. So we've talked a little bit about your childhood. We've learned a lot more about just like filmmaking in general. Some hot pro tips from a pro here. But what about like some more like what are some like big projects you've done? I know you did a few film festivals, and you helped with a movie as well. You want to?
Oh sure. Film festivals were always fun. There was a lot of the 48-hour film festivals we get together. A lot of hopefuls and a lot of people that love the idea of being in film and working in film, whether you're an actor or a producer, director, that kind of thing. And we would get together, a bunch of friends, and compete. So there would be certain items they'd pull out of a hat, and you'd have to have an umbrella in it. You'd have to use a certain phrase, and it would have to be involved with something. And you have 48 hours to shoot it, produce it, and turn it in. And then they would compete and have it at a film festival. And those were a lot of fun. If you are into filmmaking, I definitely recommend getting involved. And that way you can make friends and make connections, because networking is key to any of these industries. The people you know, the people you work with, it's so much easier if you find people that are in the same boat as you are. If they're interested in it, you guys can work together, because there's always time and money and production, but it's about being committed and putting in the time, because everybody says they'll work for free, but when push comes to shove, you got to see who actually shows up. So film festivals were fun. When I got to Sacramento area, I was trying to do that same thing with networking, and I got to work on a film called Sounds. This was shot in Auburn, and it was Ryan Humphreys was the director, and it was a sci-fi flick. And I was just there to help out and try to be a part of that group. And it was just a great bunch of guys and girls that were acting, that were producing and getting their feet wet in filmmaking. He had raised the money, got a producer, and it was kind of like Men in Black meet X-Files, and it was comedic, and it was really, for me, I think it was really well done. I think it was fun. Once it was completed, he actually ended up selling it in Japan, and they changed the title, and they did a dub over, and it's being sold nationwide or worldwide in some I guess discount video stores or whatever. But that was a lot of fun, and I really liked it. But that was one of the bigger production things. I mean, I've done music videos with Alicia Fiorillo from New Power Generation Prince. I got to work with fashion designer from Project Runway, Richard Hallmark, and produce some of his content. And I've had opportunities to work with a lot of people in the fashion industry and some in the music industry. And right now, for me, it's working with an advertising firm, and that's been pretty fun too. So I try to keep myself busy and work with different organizations and try to experiment with new creative ways of video and filmmaking.
Nice. Yeah, you've done a lot of different things. Like it's like very like ranged from like things you've done for like from what I've seen. Like it's always been something different.
There's always something, and whether it's with social media, working online, or working for television broadcast, or trying to do something that is more of a. I mean, I've done exercise videos, filmed cooking videos and different things, but those are all kind of passion, fun projects that you want to get involved with. But yeah, that's been fun.
Nice. Well, so talking about film festivals and stuff. So I know, I remember one of them at least was Another Man's Treasure. So what was the experience like going through it? Like what about, like, were there any like troubles? Did you like, things that you felt, what was it like? I guess what was it like going through like the whole process, like with getting there and everything else?
Another Man's Treasure. I actually went looking for it the other day when you were talking about it, and I can't find it.
Really?
It's got to be in a disc somewhere. But this was back when there wasn't a lot of YouTube content. It was still like MySpace.
This was like 2006, 2007, right?
Right. That was
yeah.
You were a kid. And but that was memorable because it was such a wacky group of people that got together to make this kind of comedic short film. But the problem with any kind of group participation is leadership and working with others and being able to communicate, because a lot of the times there might be 3 directors in your group. Everybody wants to take lead. Everybody wants to make the decisions of how things are shot, and there's a play on choices that you make. So when I went to school, one of the key things that I was studying was I majored in organizational communications, and the reason I picked that was because of the job I was working at was paying for my education, and organizational communications allows you to be a film director, which it means you're able to communicate with people, you're able to do presentations, you're able to get your ideas put across visually or by being able to talk to people. So that are key things that you want to do as if you're a director, because if you can't get people to understand you or follow you or take direction from you, then you're not going to be able to produce something. Because if you can't get your ideas across and somebody can't understand it, then you don't have a film. So that was one of the things that I learned in that production, is how to work with people and being able to communicate and everybody had their ideas, and we all collaborated because it is a collaboration when you're doing a short film like that. But I learned a lot to be able to pick my battles, know when it's my turn, and being able to use other people's ideas, not just your own, because sometimes that'll make your production even better. But that was a fun project. I hope I can find it. If I do, I'll put it up online so we could all kind of share it.
And for those listening, if he does find it, I'll post a link somewhere on like my Twitter or something, because I do want to see it again, because it's like a little it's like 7 minutes or something like that, right?
It's short.
Yeah, it's like crazy short. But what
It was silly fun.
What was it about? What was like what was the theme behind it? What was the general like story around Another Man's Treasure?
The location was kind of like a secondhand store, and it shows the everyday dealings of the owner with the employee and people coming into the store to shop for things. And it's just kind of an eclectic, fun experience as people would come in and he would try to help them. And there was this one crazy dude in there that was just causing havoc. And as people are shopping, he plays a part as if he's a sales representative, as if he's an art expert, as if he's searching for something specific. He was searching for a CD through a record album case. I mean, there's so many things that we try to incorporate to make it funny. But again, this is a learning experience, and timing is important. And for us, we thought it was really funny because it's people that we know and we work together. But that is a learning experience. So if you are planning to do something, remember that what you find as to be funny, some other people won't find it funny.
Yeah, people can be pretty critical about that stuff.
But that's why you got to be prepared and get other people to take a look at it before you put it out. So
right,
you can always try to fix it or make it better.
Yeah. Well, that's really it's really cool. I mean, I remember doing I was holding the behind the scenes camera and everything, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my job. So it was a little tiny me just walking around like recording like all the behind the scenes stuff, trying to be like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm like my dad, I'm cool. And here I am now doing audio instead of video, so we all end up somewhere.
You're still cool.
I'm still pretty cool. But what have been some like struggles that you've dealt with in like filmmaking and stuff like that? You've been in the business for, I guess, 30 years. Consider counting in like your, when you were a kid and stuff like that. So you've been doing this stuff for 30 years. What have been like?
Right. I mean, there's always been some facet of filmmaking or video production or multimedia design. I've always had my hands in something, and whatever job I was working at. I mean, I was in sales at a point, but I was creating my own posters and flyers and designing on Photoshop to create marketing plans. So a lot of the things that I've learned over the years is really been for marketing purposes and being able to create a variety of multimedia production for print. I mean, I've done billboards, I've done commercials that you put on the movie theaters, I've done bus stop posters. I mean, there's a variety of different things that I've put out there, but it's always something that challenges you. I've dabbled in a variety of different, 3D design and editing and audio and music. So throughout the years, it just kind of the path that you take. If you want to be a filmmaker, I mean, you really got to get your feet wet. I mean, I tried to get in there. I tried to get into the film industry, and it was just difficult. So that avenue kind of closed. So I moved into marketing, and then I was doing my little side projects, my little side hustles, and doing my music videos and moving in that direction. And then I ended up getting myself working with events. So we were in Vegas shooting a an event, and then we were in New York shooting a fashion show, and I was just trying to get myself into different avenues to see where our opportunity would arise, because I wasn't limited to just telling the story. I was trying to get as much exposure and being able to be as versatile as possible. So if I was needed or if I had an opportunity, I could just jump right in. And right now I ended up at an advertising firm, and I work with a great team, and we're producing commercials for television and online marketing and social media. So that's kind of the road that I've been taking, and I'm still hustling, still trying to do my little social stuff, trying to help you out.
Yeah, that's true.
and make
a little pop up.
And then that way we, you follow your dreams, you follow your passion. It might not get you exactly where you're at, but it's up to you to work hard to try to get there.
So you talked about, a lot of the stuff that you're doing is like based around like marketing, things like that. Do you still like try to put like some time aside to do some like more creative things, do you still like try to do like skits, or like write down like, storyboarding, be like, this would be like a great little skit, like doing something like in a creatively different path over, in the
Sure.
marketing?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love to write, and sometimes you'll, wherever you get inspired, whether it's with music, I'll hear a song and it's like, oh, this song would be great as a skit where there's a fight and there's somebody gets shot, and then you produce the whole thing around this one song, and all of a sudden the story just kind of lays itself out. But I have several little scripts and little production, little storyboards that I've created. But you know how you always want to, I mean, for me, I'm always a filmmaker. I'm always looking for something. We'll take a trip to camping in Blue Lakes, and I did a little short with one of my nephews, jumping in a lake and jumping from a platform into the lake. So basically did a sea monster video, which you can find on YouTube. And you can put up a link on that one and see.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do shameless plugs at the end. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically created a sea monster story where he's drug under the lake. And we try to play with it, but I shot that with a GoPro, shot it with an iPhone, and used After Effects, used Adobe Premiere, put in music, sound effects, made a little blow-up pool in the back and made splashing sounds, and recorded that with my cell phone, and then put it together and made this like mysterious, creepy monster short, and it was just for fun. And you can see that you don't have to have a whole lot of stuff to produce it, but you can create some really fun content.
Nice. And even what like talking about like, we've talked a lot about phones in the film industry, and it's like I think you can even do like editing and stuff in phones now. Like there's like apps where you can just like, you don't even have to worry about having a computer. You can literally do everything from a phone and call it good. Like,
yeah, of course. There's a lot of things you can do just right out of your phone, but you are limited. There are things that are amazing. If you want to do special effects and things like that, there are plugins that you can put in and shape that into your story. But if you have access to a computer, that is ideally, because there's a lot of software out there that's free. Even, right now you can get, what is Blackmagic's software?
I don't know.
Well, there's plenty of software, and we'll have links to free software that you can get if you want to do that.
Alrighty. Let's see. I think that's about time for the podcast. First of all, I want to thank my dad for being here, for taking time out of his busy schedule.
Thank you.
And do you have any shameless plugs you want to drop in?
Yes. Follow me on Instagram.
Instagram?
And
what's your Instagram?
Oh, man.
Artistic Zeal?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you for sure.
You don't remember
I gotta look it up.
You don't remember your own Instagram?
No, you know why? Because I'm working on so many other Instagrams.
So
Follow me on YouTube, on Artistic Zeal, and AZP Video, and you'll have some links.
yeah, I'll put some links in the description. And thank you, Dad.
If you guys have any questions or something, leave a comment. I'll be sure to follow up and hopefully answer them.
For us in the YouTube world, for Podcast Land, if there are comments, definitely so, and I will refer them to my dad. Make sure that he knows. Thank you so much for listening. Happy, I guess it'll be belated Father's Day to all the dads out there. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Thanks, son.
And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.